So I was looking over our sales for this week, and it really struck me what a variety of things we sold in this particular week, and how you can just find profit literally anywhere. We do look for the high dollar items, the things that sell fast and sell for super high, but those aren't always available, and we rely on bread and butter sales, and these are things that we can find anywhere and everywhere, and these things add up. So profit really is everywhere you look. You just have to be creative and sometimes consider those sales that net you $5, $7, maybe even only $3 as great as the big sales, because those are the kinds of sales that you get often, you get regularly, and add up to make a really big profit at the end of the week. If you're new here, my name is Wendy and this is Nina's Jewels. My husband and I buy things at thrift stores, garage sales, anywhere we can find things to sell online and flip for a profit. If that's content you're interested in, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that like button if you find something helpful or informative in this video, and make sure you hit the subscribe button with the notification bells kept on so you can be kept informed of all of our future content. Let's dive into what sold for the week of July 30th through August 5th. The first thing we sold was a complete audio book of the Old and New Testament, the Bible. It was called The Great Courses. It was a 24 CD set. We got this at the Goodwill bins. It was in really good condition. We only paid $1.50 for it, and it sold for offer to buyer of $27.98. Next up was an international sale through the eBay International Shipping Program. If you're not doing the international shipping program, it's something that you should consider because we get international sales all the time. It is so easy. You just ship it off to the distribution center and it goes on to the customer, and eBay handles everything for you. If there's an issue with the item, eBay will cover you. That item that sold through the ISP was a Microsoft Access Upgrade CD-ROM. It was factory sealed. We got this at a thrift store for $3.24, and it sold on offer to buyer for $24.68. Next up was a lot of 2 Dragon Tales vintage VHS kids movies. These were from 2000. We tested them and they work. They came from a thrift store. We paid 97 cents for those, and these sold for a full asking price of $14.99. Next up was a book that was one of my husband's books, and he's had it for a really long time. He read it, decided he didn't need it anymore. This was called Forgotten Realms. The name of the book was Cormer, and it was a paperback. It only sold for $8.48, but I will mention that this particular series of Forgotten Realms, some of them can be really high value, and we had some listed in our store a really long time ago that sold for quite a bit more. We had the series of 3 books listed, and I don't remember how much they sold for because it was a long time ago, but I remember I was really impressed at how much they were worth. So if you see this series, Forgotten Realms, it might be something to look up and consider picking up. Next up was a vintage 1963 Gideons Pocket Bible. This we got out of a storage unit. We paid just 28 cents for it, and it sold for $15.98. There was a particular storage unit that we bought that had a Ziploc bag full of pocket Bibles, and some of them were really valuable, but we do quite well with pocket Bibles, so sometimes those are worth looking up as well. Next up was a book. It was called American Machinist Ordnance, and it was like a bound book that had pages from a vintage magazine that's called, I guess, American Machinist. We got this at a garage sale. I bought a big bin of gun-related books, which is a Bolo if they're vintage especially, and this was in there. I paid just 38 cents for it. I had paid a bulk rate for the bin in total. This book sold for $14.99. That was our full asking price. Next up was a handmade red, green, and white Christmas-themed crochet throw. It was really pretty. It had not really a scalloped edge, but like a V-shaped edge, like a zigzag edge. And that sold for $30. We had been gifted that from a friend and decided to sell it. Next up was a Nike Golf men's size large pullover. It was a dark purple color. We got this at a garage sale. We paid $3 for it, and it sold really fast for $19.18, and that was on offer to buyer. Next up was a 20-ounce Yeti Rambler Cup. We will pick up Yeti branded items if we see them. Some of those can sell for really, really high, and they usually sell quick. And this one did sell quick. It sold for our full asking price of $20.99. We had paid just $2 for that at a garage sale. Next up was a new sealed Blu-ray of The Sound of Music. It was a 3-disc set and a 45th anniversary edition. We found this in the Goodwill bins. We paid $1.41 for it that day, and this sold for $14 even on best offer. Next up was a vintage lot of 133 reusable holiday, Christmas, Halloween, it was all different holidays, vinyl window clings. Most of them were used, and some of them were incomplete, and some of them we just had the clings that didn't have the organizer thing that they came on, the original paper that they came on with them, but there were a lot of clings. I didn't know how used clings would do, but we decided to pick them up and give them a try. I probably won't pick them up again because they did take quite a while to sell, but we made good profit on them. We had paid just $2 for these at an estate sale, and they sold for $35.98 on offer to buyer. Next up was a Mercari sale. This was a pair of Levi's Toddler Boys black denim 511 jeans. We got these out of a storage unit. We paid just 24 cents for them, and they sold on best offer for $13. Next up was one of the Maker's Mark bourbon whiskey bandanas that we got in the Goodwill bins. We got a big bag full of these, and they've been selling great. We paid $1.18 for each of these, and this one sold for a full asking price of $9.99. Next up was a angel figurine. It was a holiday Christmas angel figurine, and the brand was Coastal Holiday. So it had kind of a coastal vibe to it, and it was called the Joy to the World collection. This was gifted to me to sell by a family member, so we had no cost, and it sold for $27.98 on offer to buyer. Next up was a Dr. Seuss VHS that had multiple different stories on it. We got this at the thrift store for 24 cents, and this sold for a full asking price of $9.99. Next up was an item we found in the Goodwill bins. It was a genuine Kirby 18-inch angled vacuum cleaner attachment. We found a bunch of Kirby items in the bins once, but I think this one came from actually a different trip. So we do pick up Kirby stuff when we see it because some of the Kirby attachments can sell for really high. This one sold for our full asking price of $18.99, and our cost of goods on this was just 82 cents. Next up was a camera tripod by the brand Dynex, and we got this at a garage sale for just $2. It sold really fast for our full asking price of $29.99. Next up was a really huge 86-piece lot of Disney Infinity figurines, discs, crystals, cards. It had some portals with it, and it had the game. We had paid I have on my spreadsheet that we had paid $49 because we actually paid $50 for the box, but there were a couple of other things inside the box that we took out and listed separately. So I said that we paid $49 for this. We tried listing this as an auction, but it did not sell as an auction, so I did relist it, and we ultimately accepted an offer of $113 even. I would probably pick up Disney Infinity figurines again. I definitely would. But I do think we paid a little bit too much for these. I think $50 was a little much for the work that was involved in doing the listing. Next up was two doll accessories. The first one was a mini microphone, and the next one was 3 replacement dining chairs from a Barbie dream house. Barbie stuff is really, really popular right now, so get on the Barbie train, list anything Barbie that you have. We found these at a thrift store. They came out of a thrift store toy bag. We had paid just 36 cents for everything, and these sold on best offer for $22 to the same buyer. Next up was a North Face women's extra large Rhododendron barbatum. It had a flower on it. That's like the genus and species name, or the Latin name, however you would say that. This sold for $15 even on best offer. We had paid 28 cents for this out of a storage unit. It did have some flaws. You'll see that we have the word flaws included right in the title to disclose that. So I did kind of take a lower offer because it didn't sell as fast as I would have hoped on the price that I had it. But someone came along and offered 15, and since we had such a low cost of goods, that was good enough for me. I was just trying to move it out of our store. Next up was a lot of 6 various brands of USB plug wall chargers. We found all of these out of a storage unit. There were so many wall chargers in the storage unit. We actually kept about 5 or 6 of them to use for our own personal use. And these were the ones that we decided to list. We had paid just 28 cents for these, and these sold on an offer to buyer for $11.18. And if you've ever watched our channel before, you know we try to squeeze as much profit as possible out of a storage unit. And we can make a lot of money on a storage unit by listing everything like this. Next up was a vintage 13-inch Treasure Craft brand cactus and flower chip and dip set. It was really big. It was like this big, and it was very heavy. It was ceramic, but it was an especially heavy ceramic. But this we made really good profit on. This was actually a gift to us, a gift to my husband a really, really long time ago. And we just didn't use it anymore and decided to sell that. We got $64.99 for it, and that was our full asking price. Next up was an item that we had so many watchers on, but it took forever to sell. This was a 2008 Hello Kitty plush mermaid kids purse. We found this in a thrift store. We paid 51 cents for it, and it finally sold for a best offer of $12. So I would send out offers on this item all the time. I just could not get anybody interested in it, but when I finally did receive an offer on it, I just was like, we got to get this out of here. I think we had it listed for longer than a year. Next up was a lotion pump. It was a ceramic lotion or soap pump. It looked really unused, although it did have a little bit of just wear from being stored. We got this out of a storage unit, and we paid just 28 cents for it, and it sold for a full asking price of $19.99. Next up was a vintage 9x12 oval hand-painted on wood image of a girl, and it was signed by an artist named Nan Moore. We found this at the thrift store. We paid just 35 cents for it on half price day, and this item sold for $19.98 on offer to buyer. Next up was something we got out of that photography lot that we bought at a rummage sale. This was a vintage Premiere 4-in-1 photography negative enlarging easel. We had the box and everything. We paid just $1 for it at that rummage sale, and this sold for an offer to buyer of $50.38. Next up was a Insignia brand Nintendo Switch docking station. This we got at a garage sale for $8, and it sold really fast for our full asking price of $49.99. Next up was a brand new purse. It had never been used or carried. The brand was Samantha Thavasa. I'd never heard of that, but when I researched it, seemed like it was, kind of a designer brand. This was a very small purse. It was called a mini petite. It was about this big, and it was aqua, white, and yellow. It was a really pretty handbag. We got this at a garage sale where we paid a bulk price, and I just divided that price by everything that we bought and said that we paid $3.28 for everything. And this purse sold for $56.18 on offer to buyer. Next up was a vintage Volk women's size 22 teal blue fur felt musketeer hat. It was made in Alaska. It was really cool looking. We sold this for $38.38 on offer to buyer. Next up was a Zara Kids embroidered sweater. It was really cute. It had little ruffles on the shoulders. We got this at a garage sale for $1, and this sold for our full asking price of $22.99. Next up was a brand new sealed CD. It was a Latin CD called Leyendas Nortendas, and it did have a crack in the case underneath all the shrink wrap, so I did disclose that right in the title. We got this out of the Goodwill bins. We paid just 67 cents for it, and it sold for our full asking price of $9.99. Next up was a 2020 Blue's Clues playset. It was a folding house, and it had some of the accessories and figures that went with it, although it was not complete. We got this at a garage sale. We paid $5 for it, and it sold for our full asking price of $32.99. Next up was a JVC. It was a VHSC to VHS, so the kind of tapes that you would put in a mini camcorder. You could put those inside of this and then play those tapes on your VCR. So if you ever see one of these, this is worth picking up at the right price. These usually sell for really fast because they are obsolete now and they're really hard to find. We got this at a thrift store for just 70 cents and it sold really fast for our full asking price of $32.99. Next up was a signed print. It was called Song of Solomon by Larry Dyke. And we got this from the other business that we own, which is a custom picture frame shop. This sold for $67.99. That was our full asking price. Next up was a lot of 2 Zipit pencil bags or 3-ring pouch bags that you could put in a 3-ring binder. These were so cute and I'm surprised they didn't sell for more. But they looked like a monster face and they zipped all the way out so that it would just zip into like a really long strip of fabric and then you could zip them all the way back up again. Just something really cool for kids to have. We found each of these at 2 different places. I think we got them both in the Goodwill bins, or I got one in the bins and one somewhere else. I don't remember where I got it. But they did not sell for much. I wouldn't pick them up again, even though I think they're really cool personally. We paid $1.18 for both of these, and these sold for only $10 even on best offer. Next up was a Shikini bathing suit bottom. It was a Brazilian thong, so somebody's going to be looking sexy. We got this out of the Via Trading box that we got, and this sold for $11.98. We do have an unboxing where we unboxed everything we got from that Via Trading box, and if you haven't seen that video, make sure to check it out. I'll link it in the description box below, and I'll also link it up here somewhere. Last up, I'm going to go over all the collectible cards from my husband's personal collection. This week we only sold low value cards, and we only sold 1 card, so you'll get to see the exact card we sold. This one was a 93-94 Top Stadium Clubs Inserts promo card. It was a basketball card. It sold for $2.99, and like I said, this was my husband's and he's had it since the 90s. So that wraps up everything that we sold for the week of July 30th through August 5th. I don't even know if I said that in the beginning of the video, but that's everything we sold for this particular week. And let's go over all of the totals. We had 37 sales this week for an average sale price of $27.09, and our sales totaled $1,002.18 for a net profit of $495.33. If you enjoyed this video, if you found anything helpful or informative, or if you found it entertaining at all, make sure to hit that like button. That really helps us out and it lets YouTube know that this is content they should push to other people. And if you're not already subscribed, we would be really appreciative if you would hit that subscribe button with the notification bell on, and then you can be kept to date with all of our future content. Well, thanks so much for watching, and we will catch you guys on the flip side.